Good morning, PurePower family. Happy Wednesday, another edition of Wednesday Wisdom. I'm here outside of Boulder, Colorado, the beautiful Flatirons behind me. And May is all about movement. And so today I want to touch upon a few things that Rose Wenzel talked about last week in our episode of Wednesday Wisdom that Rose contributed to, and go a little bit further in terms of how can we practically include exercise and movement as a regular part of our lives. And there's just increasingly more and more evidence about the both physical but also mental and emotional benefits of exercise. Whether it's regular exercise absolutely decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease and dementia, and also increases the creation of new cells in the brain. So there's a whole host of medical studies, right, about the benefits of exercise and movement. And I think so many of us, if you're listening to this video, you probably already know that. And if exercise is not as much a part of your routine, how can we make it more so? Particularly when I think often, we can develop, perspective or sort of assumptions about exercise that, we've got to do it all the time and we have to be part of a regular class. And if we don't do that, then why even do it? Which is a major, perhaps a fatal mistake to make, because what science shows now is that it doesn't require that. Exercise and movement can be something as simple as short bursts of, intense exercise that has as much benefit as a much more, intense ongoing training program. So there's really two things I want to focus on in today's Wednesday Wisdom about developing a regular exercise practice that makes it easy to do, because we're creatures of habit. And if we can make exercise and movement a habit, it obviously becomes that much more easy to do. So the first point I want to emphasize is consistency. And that is just getting into a consistent practice of exercise and movement. And it doesn't need to be every single day by any stretch. Most experts, I think, now agree that 2, 3, 4 days a week, even 2 or 3 days a week, can provide immense benefits. And the important thing, though, from a habit development perspective that we know from social science and the study of habits, is consistency is key. Because once we start to do something consistently, our brain actually just wants to keep doing what we've done consistently to conserve energy. So the important thing, I think, is to look at a week and say, when am I going to exercise? And ideally 2 or 3 days a week, perhaps 2 during the week and then 1 on the weekend, if you're sort of just starting out. And that then develops this habit. And I think tying a reward to implementing the new habit is a great way to sort of solidify its benefits in the brain. And the second point I want to touch on is intensity. I alluded to this earlier. The science is very clear that interval training, meaning short bursts of intense effort, both from cardiovascular and from resistance or weight training, is really the ideal. And what that meant for me when I discovered this several years ago is I just realized I could do very short workouts, traveling in even hotel gyms. Instead of staying in there for 30, 40 minutes working out, I could do a workout in 12 to 15 minutes that was as effective, if not more effective, than those longer workouts. And so interval training is really about getting our heart rate up quickly and then letting it drop down, and then doing that over and over again. So as an example, perhaps 30 seconds of exerted effort, and then 2 minutes of going back and having the heart rate drop down again. And this can be on an exercise bike, at, again, in a hotel gym or at your local gym, or even a set of stairs, going up a set of stairs rapidly and getting our heart rate up and then letting it drop down, and doing that for several cycles for no more than 15 minutes is really just, again, as beneficial, if not more beneficial, than long drawn out workouts. The same can be said for resistance training or strength training, is doing short bursts of intense weight bearing resistance training and working that into the 2 or 3 days a week of regular exercise. So that's really, in summary, the way to make this a habit in a way that takes a lot less time than I think many of us often associate exercise. That it's so difficult because you have to do it regularly, and if you don't do it regularly, then it's not working. Not true. We can just do it, again, select times during the course of a week. Just to recap, consistency is key, so 2 to 3 days a week, and ideally including both cardiovascular, that interval training, high burst, high activity bursted, and then also weight bearing. So maybe one of those 3 days a week, do some sort of weight bearing. Even as simple as push-ups is such a great thing for, again, intense resistance training. And then the second point that I've just underscored is intensity. Focus on shorter durations of higher intensity. Really hope that helps. Let us know if you have questions, comments, suggestions, and make it a fantastic week. Happy Wednesday. Talk soon.